Public hearing. Correct. 2 weeks.
Yeah, he did a great job. I love his graphics. Everything was very organized.
Read public hearing.
Yes, I love
He
it.
said about half a days out of it. He told him what required.
Is he still handling? Is he still handling?
My turn was making.
Jordan, how are you?
Fantastic. How you doing? Good.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I'd like to welcome each and every one here tonight. It's 6 o'clock. Time to begin our July 16th meeting. It is time we'll call ourselves to order. And on the first item on the first agenda is the Monroe Aquatics Fitness Center Water Park. I recognize Kathy at this time.
Yay, Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. On June 26th, at our water park, we had a little boy, 5 years old, slip under the water and lose consciousness. A very alert member happened to be swimming close by, saw him, and pulled him to the side of the pool. Once alerted to the situation, our lifeguards, managers, and another very skilled member leapt into action, resuscitating him and securing emergency help. Aaron, why don't you wave to City Council?
Let's get
As you can see, Aaron is alive and very energetic, and we're so happy about that. Tonight we wanted to recognize those who actually had hands-on in the emergency. While a lot of people were involved, there were 5 people who had their hands on the young man, getting him breathing again, and we wanted to recognize them. We had 2 members. The first member, I hope is here, but I'm not sure. She had a conflict, but she was going to try to come, was Lori McClellan. Is Lori here? Nope. Lori had a birthday party conflict with her child, but she was going to try to come. Lori is the member that saw him and pulled him to the side of the pool. And then Heidi Jacoby, who also was on the side of the pool. Then we had 3 lifeguards that were primarily involved. Kirsten Prince. Heidi and Kirsten gave Aaron rescue breathing and CPR, which brought him back. Brought him out of his unconscious state. J.C. Briggs and Lucas Pascal, who was a lifeguard, were also very involved in the emergency, stationing him and positioning him and taking care of the emergency on site. So we would love to we're so happy to recognize you all tonight. This was a life-changing event, not only for Aaron and his family, the Tanzoses, but also for all these folks that were involved. We're so proud of you, and we're very excited to recognize you guys tonight. So I'm gonna turn it over to you. McClellan, she just walked in. So glad you made it. Yeah, just in time.
Kathy, could they come around and shake our hand, and then we would love to give a high five to Aaron.
Absolutely. Oh, that would be great. Okay, yes. We'll start. Here's Aaron right here.
Right now.
Aaron wants to.
Thank you for thank you.
Great job.
Thank you for what you did.
Thank you, great job.
Thank you for saving my life.
Thank you, thank you, thank
Thank
you.
you for saving my life.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good to have y'all with us tonight.
Hey, Aaron.
Thank you for protection.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you. Good to have you with us.
Aaron, give me 5. All
There you
right.
go.
Hey, Aaron, how you doing, pal? Yeah.
How are you? It's good to see you.
That little girl over wanting some food.
Like to shake that.
How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
All right.
Aquatic Center staff, thank you so much. What a great job. We very appreciate what you do out there each and every day. Very appreciate what you've done here to the parents. We're certainly glad things turned out the way they did. You looked good, and thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much.
Actually, yeah, if I may, I just had something I would like to give to the.
Yes, absolutely. Come right up. Absolutely. All the time you need.
First off, just thank you to each of the lifeguards and the mom and the lifeguards. Thank you so much. Words could not ever express our gratitude, but Aaron is quite the artist, and so he's been working on some pictures for you guys. So I just wanted to call you back up. So Lucas. And Kirsten, and JC, and Lori, and my daughter also stayed behind with the lifeguards. I don't know if it was any of y'all, but she also wanted to give you guys something, so. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, one more. My kids like to do crafts, so. Aaron also made you some other goodies. So these are also for you. There's just something that's just burning inside of me that we just need to say. Okay. My husband runs your golf course, so we were given passes that day to go and be there. We were about to leave, and we looked over and we saw the commotion at the side of the pool. And so my friend said to go, so we went over there, and I just have to give testimony to what happened there on the side of that pool. Aaron was not breathing, there was no pulse. I think you were right beside of me. And we started chest compressions, and as we were doing chest compressions, there wasn't anything that was happening in his body yet, but we started calling on a name that is above every name. We started calling on the name of Jesus. And when we began to call on the name of Jesus, and Melanie said, yes, in the name of Jesus, water started to come up out of his mouth. And he began to just try to get that up, and he started to take breaths, and as he did, his lungs were still full of fluid. But we just kept praying over him that his body would be healed from his head to his toe, that there would be full blood going all through his body, oxygenating every cell in his body, that his lungs would be completely clear in the name of Jesus and in the power of Jesus. And as we proclaimed this over here, my friends Tori and Meredith were just proclaiming life over Aaron, just saying he will live, he will not die, and he will declare the works of the Lord. And as we prayed, he started to get better and better and better. When he got in the back of that ambulance, the medic said his lungs were clear. and he was released from the hospital that night. And truly, those around that were right there with Aaron, what a just testimony to the ones that jumped in and did exactly what they were supposed to do. You guys were on it. You were doing exactly what you were supposed to do. But we started calling on his name, and we witnessed a miracle, a true miracle. And all the things, yes. And this friendship that has opened up here has just been beautiful. And then the things that have happened since then. And I will just say that what the enemy meant for evil, God used for good to save many. So Aaron, I just pray for you, buddy. And I just pray a hedge of protection around you, and you move into all that the Lord has for you as you grow up. So just many, many blessings to you, buddy, and your family. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, girls.
This is the kind of thing Holly worked on.
I think you're taking a bunch.
Everybody here, they had a crowd of them. Good turnout. One more for me, all that.
Good to see you.
Item 2 on our agenda is the public comment period time. Is anyone here who would like to address the council under the public comment? Okay, okay, DC, if you'd come to, if you give us your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Okay, my name is DC Duplessis, and I'm one of the owners of Franklin Street Pharmacy. Picked a great night to come. That's a great way to start the meeting. Wanted to come and address the construction going on East Franklin Street, just from the point of view of, first, I understand how important and critical it is to the infrastructure of the county, but as a business owner and the time it takes to do that has greatly impacted our business, and wanted to potentially suggest some ideas that might in the future help other businesses, or whatever we can do to speed the process. As the process started down close to 74, our business dropped about 20%. As it moved right in front of our business, it's dropped over 40%. 20% is somewhat sustainable. 40% for a long period of time is very devastating to our business. In addition to that, we have a very elderly population that has to try to find where we are weaving through neighborhoods. And we've done everything we can, putting up signs, posting directions and so forth, but we really didn't find out which roads were going to be open until the day it was actually moved. So the awareness for our customer base to be able to come see us really wasn't, weren't able to get ahead of it to let them know. We let them know it was coming, but not how they were able to get to us. So one of my suggestions would be to look at ways to either shorten the construction area to be able to open up those avenues into the businesses there. Now, we're a business within a residential piece of the street as well. So for the business impact on both sides of our short section, if it's possible to do those sections and then move it forward so that those folks can still come into the business versus driving all the way around through the neighborhoods, would be an idea. Or even on the weekends, at nights, something to speed the process. Because for us, our mission is to give back to the community. And when we're unable to do that, not only does it financially impact us, but it impacts our patients and what we're able to do for them, which is really our mission work. So I wanted to address this and thank you guys for all you do. But most importantly, if there are ways that I can help in the future process for other businesses, please let me know how I can help. But I appreciate your attention to the matter, and thank you.
Thank you, DC. I'll ask the city manager to check with the engineers or whoever. If there's anything we can do in there, certainly we're going to look at that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. On the public comment period, I have Mr. Henry Brown who signed up to speak. That's not for this. And it would not be for Loretta either then. Had you, someone, public comment period anyway. Do what?
I signed the wrong one, problem.
Okay, that's okay, we got it. Be fine. All right, the consent agenda. All right, this time we'll go to the consent agenda. Larry?
Thank you, Mayor, and members of City Council. City Council uses the consent agenda to consider items that are non-controversial and routine. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a council member or citizen with the consent of council. The consent agenda contains the following items. Item number 3 is for the purpose of adopting a resolution directing the clerk to investigate petition for annexation of 58 acres located along Dease Road between Concord Highway and Monroe Expressway, calling a public hearing for August 20th on the question of that property's annexation, and to consider a zoning map amendment from Union County RA 40 to conditional district Kellerton Place. Item 4 is for the purpose of approving the budget amendment to accept $250 donation from Advanced Driver Training Services, Inc. to be used by the Monroe Police Explorer Program. Item 5 is for the purpose of authorizing the grant application to the North Carolina Department of Transportation for an additional $1.5 million for the apron rehabilitation project at our airport. To approve the project budget ordinance of $3.2 million, the work authorization agreement with Talbert, Bright, and Ellington, an amount of $315,000, and to award the construction contract to Blythe Brothers Asphalt LLC in the amount of $2.88 million. Item 6 is for the purpose of authorizing staff to submit the grant application with the FAA and NCDOT to fund the airport layout plan project, and to adopt the capital project budget ordinance in the amount of $419,000, and to accept the FAA non-primary entitlement funds for this project, and to approve the work authorization with Talbot, Wright, and Ellington, Inc. Item 7 is for the purpose of authorizing staff to solicit proposals for council's consideration regarding the review of estimated costs for design, engineering plans, and construction, possible funding options, and to provide a recommended path for bringing the conversion of Franklin Street and Jefferson Street from one-way traffic to two-way traffic. Item 8 is for the purpose of approving the memorandum of understanding between the City of Monroe and Golston Technologies, which sets forth the parameters for Golston to provide a contribution and aid to offset the city's cost of converting overhead high-voltage power lines to underground services if their electric load doesn't increase as projected. Item 9 is for the purpose of awarding the contract to Oshkosh Airport Products for the purchase of one airport rescue firefighting apparatus in the amount of $790,447. Item 10 is for the purpose of adopting Fire Station 4 Access Road project budget totaling $159,000 and awarding the bid to construct the access road, fence, and gate system at Fire Station 4 for emergency access into the Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport. Item 11 involves minutes and reports lettered A through K. Item 11A involves disbursements from City Council's discretionary fund, and there were 3 sets of disbursements. First of which is Mayor Pro Tem Anderson had 3 disbursements, which included Ground 40 in the amount of $500, Christian Family Care Home $300, and Have a Heart Foundation in the amount of $100. Councilmember Anthony had 3 disbursements, which included Community Health Services of $1,000, Monroe High School Athletic Foundation in the amount of $300, and Rotary Club in the amount of $1,000. And third, Councilmember McGee dispersed funds to the Monroe High School Athletic Booster Club in the amount of $400. Item 11B involves financial reports for June 2019, and as a summary, I'll highlight several fund balance amounts. Total fund balance is $28,563.16. A few subsets of total fund balance are fund balance reserved by policy, which amounts to $10,106,092. The unassigned general fund balance is $4.2 million, and the total assigned fund balance is $2.1 million. There are 10 sets of minutes lettered 11C through J. Item 11K involves summary of contracts awarded, change orders approved, and city manager's settlement of claims. There were 57 contracts for the period totaling $605,000. Additionally, a report for information purposes details claims settled and paid by the League's risk management services through June 30th, pursuant to agreements and terms of insurance with the League, which includes 6 claims ranging from $280 to $3,716. Item 12 is for the purpose of adopting the resolution requesting the North Carolina Department of Transportation to allow installation of signs at Lancaster Avenue and NC 200 North to commemorate the Central Academy's 2019 Division IIA State Wrestling Championship. Item 13 is for the purpose of adopting the resolution for the offer to purchase real property by NCDOT in the amount of $980 involving approximately 1/10 of an acre from the city, which will be used for bridge improvements on Macedonia Church Road near Lake Monroe. Mayor, members of the City Council, that concludes my summary of items placed on the City Council's consent agenda.
I move to accept the consent agenda.
I have a motion to accept.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. We'll go to the regular agenda now. Some public hearing. Annexation, item 14, annexation and zoning map text. A request for 24.854 acres located along Waxhaw Highway and Skywatch Lane. This is a public hearing. Okay. I have some sign up here to be heard. I'll call the names as they sign up. Go ahead with you. Go ahead.
Presenter.
Yeah, I'll get to this and go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Lisa Stywiner, the Director of Planning and Development with the City of Monroe. I would like to bring before you an annexation, zoning map, and zoning text amendment request by Carolina Development Services, LLC for property located along Waxhaw Highway and Skywatch Lane. The applicant is requesting an annexation and conditional district rezoning in order to develop the Alexander Commons, a 77 single-family residential lot subdivision. The annexation, zoning map, and zoning text amendment was presented at your May meeting. The annexation was denied, therefore the zoning map and text amendment was not voted on due to the lack of annexation approval. The applicant has since requested to go back through the process and has made modifications to the project that will be mentioned during the presentation. As a reminder, this is an annexation, zoning map, and zoning text amendment, so it's being presented as one item, but it will have separate action items. Okay, now orient you to the subject property. The subject property is highlighted in blue. It is located along Waxhaw Highway, Martin Luther King Boulevard, Skywatch Lane. This is Walter Bickett Elementary, the Southwind subdivision. The site is approximately 24.8 acres and is currently vacant. The site is zoned RA 20 Union County Low Density Residential. Adjacent properties are also zoned RA 20 Union County Low Density Residential, B2 Union County Business, Conditional District Walter Bickett Elementary, Mixed Use Residential, the Southwind Subdivision, and then R20 Low Density Residential. The applicant is requesting a conditional district rezoning in order to develop a 77-lot single-family subdivision at 3.5 units per acre. The existing density within the surrounding area ranges from 1 unit per acre to 5 units per acre. The single-family detached dwellings will consist of lot sizes ranging from approximately 6,250 square feet to 13,669 square feet. The proposed setbacks for the lots are 20 feet in the front, 5 feet in the side, and 25 feet in the rear. I'd like to now orient you to the site plan. Once again, it's located off Waxhaw Highway. Martin Luther King runs this way, and then Skywatch Lane that runs in between the Southwind subdivision and the proposed development. The site does consist of 3 tracts of land. Tract 1 is proposed for annexation and rezoning for the single-family subdivision. Tract 2 and 3 are being proposed for annexation, but will be rezoned at a future date. The site is proposing to have 2 access, one off of Waxhaw Highway, and then the second access will be accessed through Martin Luther King and then Skywatch Lane. All the streets within the development will meet the City of Monroe street standards and will be maintained by the city. Traffic impact analysis was not required by the City of Monroe Engineering Department or the North Carolina Department of Transportation due to the number of lots and then the projected trip generation. There are some proposed transportation improvements to the site that the developer is going to be adding. One is a left turn lane with the appropriate taper into the development. Also, the entrance to the development cannot be within 600 feet of the intersection of Waxhaw Highway and Newtown Road. The developer is proposing to provide 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of the street on all the interior streets. There will be an 8-foot wide sidewalk along Waxhaw Highway. All single-family homes will have a sodded front yards. The applicant is proposing for each lot to have at least 1 tree per front yard, and then street trees will also be provided at a rate of 3 trees per 100 feet throughout the development. There is an 8-foot streetscape buffer being provided along Waxhaw Highway. There's also a 40-foot perimeter buffer at the front of the development and a 20-foot perimeter buffer to the west side of the project. And then there is a 50-foot undisturbed buffer along the stream in the rear of the property. The developer has agreed to install a landscape buffer that will include evergreen trees on the west side of the project that will provide screening from the adjoining property owner to the subdivision. The project is required to provide at least 12.5% of open space for the total land area of 2.75 acres. The applicant is providing 31.7% or 6.98 acres of open space. Due to the limited size of the project, the developer is not proposing any amenities for the project. The applicant will be required to provide stormwater management to treat the stormwater runoff for the project. Stormwater will be evaluated and reviewed if the project's approved at City Council and will be reviewed at the building permit stage of the process. The proposed 77-lot single-family subdivision will be located with the school attendance area of Waterbicket Elementary, Monroe Middle, and Monroe High. All 3 of the schools are below the capacity at this time. The exterior building materials will consist of brick, stone, and high-quality vinyl. The developer is proposing the front facade to consist of at least 25% brick and or stone materials, while the sides and rear will be vinyl. Minimum heated square feet will be 1,600 square feet. The homes will be constructed on a slab foundation and provide a minimum of 4 courses of brick veneer. Just want to provide you a couple examples of the elevations that were provided for the project. Each single-family detached dwelling will provide a 2-car garage and a paved driveway that will accommodate at least 2 vehicles in addition to the garage. Garages will include carriage-style hardware. The land development plan indicates that the land use designation for this area is suburban. The density for suburban residential is 2 to 4 units per acre. The proposed development pattern of 3.5 units per acre for the single-family development at this location is consistent with the land development plan and is a reasonable use for the area. The service impact analysis states that the proposed annexation of Alexander Commons is expected to have no immediate impact on the operating budget for the City of Monroe. As far as public notification goes, the applicant sent a notification letter to the property owners within 200 feet of the subject property and held a neighborhood meeting in February to discuss the project. A rezoning notification sign was posted on the property 10 days prior to the public hearing, and an official rezoning notification letter was mailed to the adjacent property owners located within 250 feet of the property 10 days prior to the public hearing. Planning Board did recommend approval of the conditional district Alexander Commons at their April meeting with the following conditions: that the developer install an 8-foot wide sidewalk along Waxhaw Highway, they eliminate the townhomes from the project, and also all single-family homes will be required to be furnished with a 2-car garage. The developer has since complied with the Planning Board's request. The additional modification since the May City Council meeting, the developer has agreed to install the landscape buffer on the west side of the project that would consist of the evergreen trees to screen the subdivision from the adjoining property owner. Once again, this is an annexation, zoning map, and text amendment, so they will take separate actions. And City Council will need to take the action on the following items, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Well, what's the price range of the homes?
I will refer to the developer for that one.
Okay. And at the meetings, what kind of participation did you get from the people who live in close proximity?
There were additional meetings that took place after the last council meeting. My understanding, the request to provide a 1-car garage, provide 2-car garage instead of the 1-car garage, and then also the addition of the landscape buffer to the west side of the property did suffice with some of the concerns. Now, whether there may be additional concerns here tonight that I might not be aware of.
But the general consensus is that the homeowners in the close proximity are agreeing with Alexander Commons?
I believe so, but I will let the developer address that question as well.
Thank you.
How about the letters that was sent out to the property owners that's near that? What kind of response? Did you get very many responses back?
We've had a couple calls. I know we received one call this week with some questions, but I haven't really heard any additional concerns.
Okay. Any other questions?
But you said the planning board and the planning department agree with it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone have any questions? Lisa? Thank you, ma'am. This is a public hearing, and I have some people signed up, and I have some signed up in favor, and I have some signed up in opposition. So I'll take the ones in favor first. Gary at is that Sinclair Drive? We'll recognize you. Just sir, if you'll give us your name and address for our record, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will. My name is Gary Beetler. My residence is at 819 Sinclair Drive, Monroe, North Carolina, in Southwind Subdivision. I'd like to start out by saying that I believe my family were the 4th ones to live in that subdivision when the original craft home development started. So we've lived there throughout the time of the additional builders coming in to build out our subdivision. I also travel to and from work various ways each and every day and see the way the county is exploding with new growth. Unfortunately, due to family emergencies, I wasn't here to attend the last hearing and state my piece, but looking at the options that are before us, one of them was the 2-car garage that we had asked for to make the homes like ours. The elevations that they showed, the pictures of the homes, are very much like the mixed use that's currently in our subdivision. To Councilmember Anthony's request, I've been told the housings will start at $190,000, which is slightly below the minimum, above the minimum of where our housing falls at now, and well above where we purchased at back in 2004. Some were more than that. Looking at the added traffic possibly on Skywatch Lane, that road is plenty wide. The 2 access points should not cause a problem. Some people will state that they're worried about speeding. We've already had speed bumps installed on that road because some residents don't know how to drive regardless in a subdivision. I believe the extra access road off of Waxhaw Highway will benefit our entire community because as it is now, there's one entrance off of Martin Luther King. That's for police, fire, rescue, emergency people. By having that extra access into the back of the community, I think would make it a safer place in the event of any emergency situation. I believe that the builder's proposal is positive. I think that regardless, that lot will at some point in time move forward with some sort of housing. The county's growing too fast, too big not to. I think from what I've seen so far, this one would benefit our community and make it a good proposition for us. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. The next one is Lloyd Trimble. I'm saying that right. Okay. If you will, name and address for the clerk, please.
My name is Lloyd Trimble, and I live at 738 Sinclair Drive, also in Southwinds. Gary did a great job of mentioning many of the items that we as a neighborhood have talked over, and I do know that there are some folks from our neighborhood who are in opposition who will also speak. But a couple of the things that he did not mention is that parcel has been vacant for the last 14, 15 years, and it really looks like an unfinished section of our neighborhood. There are sewer taps that are 4 foot high. Until this spring, there were pine trees and a good bit of heavy vegetation. When they started to do the planting, they came in and brush hogged that, so it cleared it down. Before that brush hogging happened, we had kids playing in the woods over there, people riding dirt bikes and quads, and for a while there were people camping over there. And that is difficult for all of us because it is not part of the city. So we're in the city, we call the city police, the city come out and they say they can't do anything because it's not in the city limits. So then they wait for the sheriff's department, and by then the people have scurried and disappeared. So I do think that having homes there both will remove the negative impact that we see every day of our neighborhood looking unfinished. Also, our HOA does maintain the berm along Skywatch Lane right now, which is pretty substantial distance. And in not having to maintain that, it will give us the ability to focus on some of our common space that adjoins theirs. One of the nice perks is that this community has flat, open common space proposed, and the developer said that they intend to mow that open space, which will ultimately give the folks in our neighborhood access to play as well. Even though there won't be amenities, just open space where kids can play without being on the streets, I think would be a good thing. The extra egress point onto Waxhaw Highway would be very nice as well. I work in the city of Monroe at the old Belk building, and to make a left-hand turn out of our neighborhood is pretty dangerous. I actually was hit at that intersection once where a person made an illegal turn and drove through the front end of my car. But also, sometimes it takes 15 and 20 minutes to get out onto the road. I know that there's some concern with speeding on Sinclair Drive as a result of the new access. I was really happy to see on the plans that they're not connecting Afton Court to this subdivision. Afton Court's the first street on our subdivision, and it currently dead ends. I believe that if they had connected it, that would have created a very fast thoroughfare that would have been very tempting to people. I do think Sinclair stands some chance of having increased traffic, but again, we can do a speed study if we need to add speed bumps later. I think that's a reasonable request that we can make to the city. All in all, I think the house sizes and the two-car garages and the two-car driveways are things that will add value to our community and be in line with the homes. I am also a realtor and recently sold a home in the neighborhood, and the price per square foot of that home was $128 a foot. The average in our neighborhood is about $95 a foot, and some of the extremely large homes have sold as low as $62 and $63 a foot recently. But that's converse to 2011, when most everything in our neighborhood was selling for $30 a foot. So we're very excited to see better pricing and to see homes that look comparable or better than the ones that we have. Also, the lot sizes are significantly larger than ours, and we're thankful for that and think that it will add value to the city. It also should increase the tax base to the city to the tune of about $14 million worth of taxable property.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Valerie at Skywatch Lane. With
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak here. I'm Valerie Gruhot. I live at 703 Skywatch Lane in Southwind Subdivision. I do want to make note that the two people who spoke previously lived on Sinclair Drive, which is the back road into the neighborhood. They are not the ones right on Skywatch Lane or on Kevinshire. And I'm speaking here for myself, for my husband, but also we have many neighbors here that are opposed. If you raise your hands, we do have some that are opposed here, and others that couldn't be here tonight. We're a family community, but we also have retirees, and a lot of them are just getting home from work. They're cooking dinner, they're walking their dogs, but we're here also to speak for many of them too. Our part of Southwind's community has 104 homes. We have one road in and out, as has been mentioned, and that is Skywatch Lane. We therefore are very aware of anyone that is walking, playing, riding, driving through our neighborhood, and we feel quite safe because it is a closed-in community. We oppose Alexander Commons' request to be annexed into the city, as it seems that it is trying to blend into our Southwinds neighborhood. And two things that weren't mentioned to you is the roads that are going to be coming from that development into our development. Actually, I think it's, if you look at the picture, it's 3, but definitely 2 for sure that are going to empty out into our development. And I feel that we should remain a separate development, a separate neighborhood. Okay, so we have 104 homes that use Skywatch Lane to get out to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. If those roads, which are coming onto Skywatch Lane now, are going to be opened up, that is another 77 homes that, yes, they may want to be going the other direction and turning to go to Waxhaw or Monroe, but a lot of them are going to get to 84 and other ways to get into Charlotte to go to work. And so the increased flow of traffic is what disturbs us on Skywatch Lane. If you take the 104 homes that are already there and accessing Skywatch Lane onto Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and you add another 77 homes, that's a tremendous increase in percentage. I mean, not all of them, of course, are going to try to be getting out on Skywatch Lane, but it's a possible 43% increase in traffic trying to get out one road on Skywatch Lane. We're also very concerned that the traffic coming from the one entrance into Alexander Commons from the Waxhaw Highway, Highway 75, they're going to use that as a cut-through. They're going to come through. They don't want to go all the way up and make the loop and get onto at the light there. They're going to cut through our neighborhood to go from Highway 75 to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. So once again, I just want to state that I think we should remain separate neighborhoods, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, the next one is it James King, Skywatch?
Yes, sir, but I want opposition, not going off the young lady's finished speaking. So,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Okay. And then we have Robert. Is that Mr. Browning? Robert? Curitan, I can't make out the name. C-U-R-E? Okay.
Sorry, my handwriting.
That's quite all right.
It's Denise.
Robert's
Robert's my husband.
Okay, Robert, I can say. Name and address for the clerk, please.
Denise Curitan, 2310 Kevinshire Court. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak, and pretty much Valerie gave everything that I was going to say. The only thing that I just would like to add is the subdivisions that are around us, they have one way in, one way out. This subdivision can have one way in, one way out without cutting through our subdivision. There's several children that we have bike riders, little tiny tots that ride the bike. And I just believe that it would be to our advantage as homeowners in South Winds to not have 2 or 3 streets that are open that will feed into that particular street that we use to get out to Martin Luther King. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you. I have another one signed up, but is it Wellington?
Yes.
All right, we'll recognize you at this time, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I live at 2314 Kevinshire Court, and I have kids.
Can you please make sure you provide your name, because I think the mayor.
Wellington Brown. Yes, I have kids. Those who are 4 don't have kids. I have 2, I have a dog. And I live just on the hotspot, Kevinshire and 75. So my house is the last house on Skyway, on Skywatch Lane. Well, I agree with everything Ms. Dennis and Ms. Valerie had to say. But I want to add, I'm not sure if the developer is here. Is he here? The developer? Okay.
Yes,
he has a contractor that went ahead and cut the pine trees on the other on our property, and they have a machine that splits wood and put holes in my house, in my vinyl. I tried to get them to repair it. They came and repaired one and left the other 2. I'm still having problems with holes in my vinyl. So I want the council to hold people responsible who comes to make a development and damage other people's property. I'm not sure what the process is, but I want our voice to be heard that if you're doing anything, if the council makes a decision, they should come be ready to take responsibility for any damages they make. So just to let everybody know that we are requesting a fix to our property for any damage that was done. And we still are opposed to especially the cut through. We do not like that. If you do it, put 4 or 5 speed bumps on that road so we can be safe, so our kids can be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who would like to, yes, sir?
Point of clarification.
I'm sorry?
I spoke, but may I make a point of clarification?
Yes, if you will, do it right quick.
I would, sir. If they'd like
Well, I've got to give everybody else the same opportunity.
If they'd like to bring up the street map again of South Winds, the one thing that was misspoken, yes, there's 104 homes in South Winds. The density, most of that is Sinclair Drive and Kevinshire at the end, because the side of South Winds, where we're talking about building the new development, is an open field.
Okay.
So there's not 104 cars going out Skywatch. The majority come down Sinclair.
Thank you, sir. Is anyone else who would like to address Mr. Browning? Will recognize you, sir.
Yeah.
If you will, name and address and for our clerk, please.
Henry Browning at 2401 Waxhaw Highway. If I could see that first map that he had. The first one, yeah. Right here where they're proposing this, they had proposed a barrier between me and this property. What the developer came out and we talked about it, between my property line and the edge, the rim of that ditch is there, that they put there, it wasn't there. There's probably 10 feet at the most. I asked him if he put the barrier on the other side and leave that ditch like it is. That ditch is a pretty natural barrier. It's got briars, honeysuckers. If he plants on my side, those briars, honeysuckers are going to take that over in 2 years. Because I had a line of yellow bells there I had to take out because of that problem. Because I didn't own that property over there and there wasn't much I could do with it. But that, if he puts it over there, this ditch was not there. That, before the water comes under Waxhaw Highway, it goes down about approximately 50 feet or so there, and used to drain, and where South Winds is now, there used to be a pond. That was a pond, fishing pond. They took the hill beside my house and rerouted the water through there and filled that pond up when they built South Winds. So this ditch is not on anybody's radar. I talked to Doug Britt a couple of times about it. It's not on anybody's radar, but it's going to be, because they have put, at the end of my house, it's approximately 10 feet deep to the bottom. They came and surveyed. They can tell you exactly how deep it is. But that has grown up. It's even got pine trees that's probably that big around since it's been put there. If they'll leave that barrier and then put the barrier on the other side to hide that, from the homeowners would make me happy.
Okay.
And we talked about that, he and I talked about that. But they need to leave that because that is a natural drain area now. It drains the north side of Waxhaw Highway.
Okay.
But I would, personally, I'd rather see that barrier on the other side to hide it from them if they want.
What did the builder tell you when y'all talked?
He sort of agreed to that. He didn't see the problem, but he never did tell me yea or nay.
Okay.
But EPA doesn't want to allow him, if they take that out, the EPA is going to be on it. Because I think Doug told me you're not supposed to go within 35 feet of a drainage area.
I'm sure that he'll address that. I would guess, and I'm not making any accusations either way, but he's here, and I'm sure he's going to speak, and if he does, I'm sure he'll address that.
But that's my own, and that's been my contention the whole time, to leave that ditch like it is, because it's a natural barrier.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. All right, anyone else here who would like to speak in favor, or I'll get you, okay. Was she coming? Were you coming?
You go ahead.
If you want to, come to the podium, please. Your name and address, please, for our clerk.
My name is Lakeisha Holly. I live at 707 Skywatch Lane. I'm right across the street from where they're planning to develop. My biggest concern is exactly what everyone else has stated. The other two, no offense, but they do live on the backside of the neighborhood, so it would not affect them. I have 3 younger children. My children like to ride bikes, they like to walk. My son's out every day. There's approximately 30 kids who play together, and they all come to our end of the neighborhood because it's safer. So I would hate to see something be developed and these children not have anywhere to play. And I know you're saying there's going to be a space, you plan for that, but will these children have somewhere safe to play? And we've been there, this will be 11 years for us, and that's my biggest concern. It's just the safety of all the kids there.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to address the council? All right, we recognize you, Beth.
I'm Mary Marshall Nash. I live at 2214 Waxhaw Highway. Tonight I'm talking about, they didn't do a traffic survey. I live, and my brother's garage is at the intersection of Newtown Road and Waxhaw Highway, and there's going to be another turn lane right above that, and there's accidents all the time there. I don't know what they can do to prevent. The traffic is atrocious there now. I had to spend 15 minutes trying to get out of my driveway to come to this meeting. So I don't know who says there's not going to be an impact on the traffic. There definitely is going to be an impact on traffic there. And the safety, if they put another entrance into Waxhaw Highway, the safety will be a problem. The density of the development is also a problem. I addressed that in the last meeting. We were R20 out there. I don't know what the big problem with R20 is. I know it doesn't make a lot of money for developers, but why? Why do you have to change it? Look down the road. City needs to look down the road at what's going to happen with so much development and the high density that you're putting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else who'd like to address the council? Okay. If no one else who'd like to, would you, yes, sir, come to the podium if you will, please.
My name is Keith Fenn. I'm with True Homes, and I represent the developer for this property and this project. I want to address a couple points that were brought up. Just as a reference point, we've been going through this process since March. We've had a neighborhood meeting, open planning council, planning commission, and a council, and I'm not sure where everyone showed up all of a sudden today. But we have been diligently trying to address everyone's issues and everyone's concerns. And as you guys have been presented by planning, we've conceded on every point. And we're really trying to make a diligent effort here to put a good product and a good solution to this parcel. So let me go to the entrance. As far as the entrance is concerned, if I could get away without building an entrance, I would not want to build an entrance. That entrance alone is going to cost me a third of $1,000,000. So believe me, I would rather not build it. If I could get away with putting all those cars through that one entrance, I would do that. Unfortunately, that's not a decision that I can make as a regulatory authority as far as NCDOT. So that's where that's coming from as far as that entrance. To mitigate the safety and the traffic issues, DOT is requiring us to do turn lanes. So that is the reason that we have to build that out and do the road widening there. As far as the intersection further down, again, that is not part of the scope. NCDOT is not requiring us to address that. Yes, there will be an added traffic, but according to the thresholds that DOT sets as a precedent, which we don't set, it is not significant enough to address that intersection. So unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that specific point. With respect to the safety, I understand that. I'm a father of 3 kids, and I would be very much concerned if people drove through my neighborhood and didn't have any regard for my kids. I'm not sure how to really address that other than just saying, you know, you've already got 104 homes, and if your kids are playing amongst those, I'm not sure if there's going to be much of a difference in terms of the actual safety concerns with, you know, the amount of traffic on any specific one given point. You're not having 77 cars drive in one shot. You know, it's spread out. Everyone has different schedules, different lives, and that sort of thing. So I understand it as a concern. I'm not sure exactly what I can do to mitigate that, to be honest with you. Going to Mr. Weddington Brown, we have not hired anyone to do anything on that site. We have not touched that site. So if you've seen contractors out there or whoever, I don't know who it is. I do know, having heard from some existing homeowners, that their HOA took it upon themselves to clear that land at one point. I don't know if they're constantly maintaining that, which is a very benevolent act, but we as property owners have not been doing anything on that property. As far as Mr. Brown, our neighbor for the landscaping, yeah, I met with Mr. Brown on his property, and we walked the line, and I wanted to make sure that he had what he was looking for, and specifically to that screening and effect of not having that just kind of blank openness there. The existing trees that are there are mature. There's a lot of evergreens there. In fact, you can't even see from his house to our property or vice versa. So we want to maintain that. We actually would prefer to have that, because that would be the rear of our lots that we would be building. So whatever I can keep there, I would rather keep there. It costs me money to take trees down. It costs me money to put trees back. So if we have to take anything down, we've offered to replace them with something that's similar and create a buffer so that we ensure that there's a screening in place. As far as the ditch is concerned, we haven't measured that out in terms of where it impacts our property, so I can't commit to what will happen to that ditch, but the flow of all of the water is something that is going to be of concern to us, and it will be mitigated within the design. We're not in the design yet, so I can't speak specifically to what we'll do with that. We try to maintain the natural features of any property that we jump on, regardless of how it's functioning at the time of its existence. I'm not sure if I addressed every question, but you know, I'm here to answer more.
Yes, sir. You know, some of your language really disturbs me to say that projects that you jump on, the way you speak about money, having to spend money, you know, you can't place a price on a life. And first of all, when you stood up and said you don't know where these people came from, let me just tell you that the citizens have a right the way they decide to go. They may have felt like they heard more here than the meeting. I don't know why they didn't go to it, but that was very distasteful.
No. What I'm saying is I wanted to give them opportunities to speak to them.
Telling you how it came across.
Yeah.
So they had a right to come here to voice their opinion.
No, I apologize if it came across wrong. I just wanted to give you
you don't owe me the apology. You didn't say it to me.
No, I'm apologizing to them. That's fine. But I wanted to give every opportunity to every neighbor to speak, which is why we did those neighborhood meetings and we had the other public hearings.
Are you from this area?
Originally, no.
No.
Wrong.
Because you said you are not the developer. You're representing the developer.
A little complicated, but Carolina Development is a branch of ours that owns the property, but we develop it through the branch.
It looks to me, and this is in my opinion, that you want to do this at any means necessary, sir.
Council, any other council have a question or comment?
Let me ask you a question. Do you have to go through the other subdivision for this development to happen? Can they not have a standalone entrance?
Oh, do we have to connect to it? That was one of the planning's criteria as far as connectivity, because they wanted, from my understanding, this predates me, but the history of that property, including South Winds, was all considered one tract, and then it was split, and this was kind of left over, and it was kind of hanging, so for the past 14 years, no one's done anything with it. And we're at a point now where we would like to do something with it and develop it out. But yeah, so the concern of unity was a major topic, to make sure that there was a semblance of unity within the neighborhood.
Lisa, why do they have to go through the other subdivision in order to build this facility?
Connectivity is typically a recommendation of planning staff, just to have it better connected.
But it really doesn't have to be that way, does it?
It's at the discretion of the developer and the council. It's a recommendation.
I know if I lived in the adjoining neighborhood, I wouldn't particularly want the traffic, but in the same token, I don't particularly have a problem with the development, but I see where they're coming from as far as not wanting them to enter through their subdivision. I guess that's one place I've always sort of differed with staff is on connectivity. Will it work without or will it not?
If I could speak to that, the challenge, do you have the other map of our site plan? So the challenge that we have is whenever South Winds was built out, and I think one of the neighbors mentioned that they have the cleanouts along Skywatch, the white tubes are sticking out. So it was always intended for those homes to be built facing Skywatch. So it would be difficult to not connect to Skywatch and have those homes not part of Alexander Commons, if that makes sense, because it's on Skywatch. That's the only challenge. Like we could cut it off. We could not connect here, but then these houses don't really belong anywhere. Like they're not part of South Winds, and then they're not really connected to us. So it would just be awkward.
Any other questions?
I have a question for the developer.
Yes.
What are they planning to do with the V?
These two?
Yes.
We do not do commercial development. That's not our intention, and those are slated for commercial. We only do residential.
So that's commercial.
Yeah, that's commercial. I doubt anything will be done with it, to be honest with you. We will personally not do anything with it.
So more commercial there would be more traffic.
Well, I'll be honest with you, just looking at this piece of land, by the time you put a driveway in there that DOT would allow, I don't know what you could put there. It would be a very challenging piece of land, with anything.
Okay. Anything else?
Did I hear him say that he had surveyed that ditch?
No, we did not survey that yet.
If you'll come to my house, I'll show you where the tapes are and show you where you cut the site down to the bottom of it. I'll show you the tapes. They're still there, some of them. When they surveyed from the rim to the bottom of the rim, they cut a site path down to the bottom of the ditch. He's about probably 4 of them, some of them got moved in. Right. But I think some of them, they did survey.
And you said that you didn't know that they cut all the woods off that property.
Okay, one at a time, please.
That wasn't.
That wasn't you? Who could be doing?
Is anyone on the?
Okay, just a minute, please. If we have any questions, let's do it. We'll do it one at a time in order. We don't, everybody gonna be asking questions. Nobody gonna hear nothing. So if anybody got a question they want to ask the developer, let's do it in order, one at a time. Ms. Nash, I believe you were talking.
And actually, Mayor, we may need them to come up to the
Yeah,
podium
I was
as well, because it's not something that necessarily is going to make its way to any of the microphones. So
Yeah.
someone watching this meeting later, and also for purposes of our
And
minutes.
you were talking, I'll recognize you first, Ms. Nash. If you'll come to the podium, please.
I was just questioning their not knowing about all the trees being cut. I mean, they spent a month out there grinding up trees. We listened to it. I mean, I live across the road from it, and you could, I can't believe if it's your property, who did it? And that's who damaged their house.
That's probably who damaged it, but yeah.
You don't have any knowledge of it, of what you see.
I have no knowledge of it, but I can tell you it would have passed through me if we hired them. And I didn't hire anyone. So I'm the project manager for this project and this property. So anything that happens to it that we would hire or pay for, I would know about.
How would you explain this all going on and you not know?
Again, I don't know if it's an HOA thing that South Wind's adopted to do, because again, I was told last time that HOA did some clearing, but to what extent, I don't know.
They shouldn't have been on your property, though.
Technically, they shouldn't have been on.
Okay. All right. Okay. I see a gentleman with his hand up. If you'll come to the podium, please.
Once again, I'm Gary Beetler from 819 Sinclair Drive. I am an HOA board member, past president, and have been on the board since the beginning. Lloyd here is our current president. The HOA, when he's speaking, we maintain it. On the picture itself of Skywatch, from the sidewalk to the street is grass. We have that mowed, we have 10 feet beyond mowed, so that our residents that live there have a place to walk their dogs. We've never touched that field. You happen to have our management company open our books. We can't afford to pay someone the cost of money it would cost to clear that field. So the just gentleman pointing at the HOA of doing it is an error.
Okay.
My apologies.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Would I be out of order if I made a motion to deny the amendment request?
Yes, actually, yes, ma'am, what you need to do is, you need to go through the annexation first, and then what I would, if your concern is to not want to reach the zoning issue, what you would do is, the recommendation would be that you approve action A, and then deny action B, and then that would end the discussion, similar to what you did last time as a council. But that, of course, would be following the end of the public hearing and any discussion the council wishes to have internally.
And when I move to approve,
Mayor, I don't think the mayor's closed the public hearing.
No, I've got to finish that. Okay, does anyone else have a question for the builder? If you come to the podium, sir.
I'm Lloyd Trimble, 738 Sinclair Drive, and my question is, when did you all take ownership? Because I know Ingram Walters used to own the property and owned it last year when we asked for use of one section of it for our party, and we did get permission to use that one section at that time. But again, all that we mow now is the road, and somebody else did clear it, and it's been probably close to a year since they cleared it. So it might be before you bought it.
It was probably before we bought it then.
And that's probably when it got surveyed as well.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah.
Okay.
We acquired it about a year ago.
So all this other, what they talking about was done before that. Is that what y'all saying? Okay. Yes, sir. Ma'am, if you'll come to the podium, please.
My husband and I, Valerie Gruhat, 703 Skywatch Lane. My husband and I left at the end of October, and the growth was all still there at the end of October.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, is anyone else? Yes, sir, if you'll come to the podium, please.
Richard Browning, 2411 Waxhaw Highway. We were always under the assumption David Cupperson owned all that. He owned the whole field, and he sold the lots that are southwind or whatever. He sold it to a developer, but property that I bumps up my daddy's. We were under the assumption David Cupperson still owned it, and he's in with David Cupperson, what I heard. So they should know who cut those trees down. It was just recently that they were cut down.
All right, thank you,
And
sir.
I'd like to know the width of the streets. I was in the fire department for 25 years, and we talked about that quite a few times. When you put small streets in and somebody, you put enough parking for 2 cars, somebody's got to park on the street. And when y'all have a house fire, your fire trucks can't get back into where it needs to go, because you put too many small streets. And we were told when that development was built, South Winds, that there would never be an entrance into those developments from Waxhaw Highway. We were told by the city council that there would never be an entrance or an exit on 275. They would all be in off of MLK. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing.
Mayor, I think
I'm
one
sorry.
thing that we would point out from a staff perspective is, instead of requiring council to go through those items, you may wish to offer up to the requester, if they wish to withdraw their annexation petition. If they do that, then that ends everything without your needing to take any votes. That is up to you to offer that to the developer, and it's up to the developer to make that decision. If they don't, then you could take the actions I outlined to Councilmember Anthony, or you could annex it, taking some of those actions and then moving through the rezoning, which may not be approved at this point, depending on the council's wishes.
Okay. All right.
May I speak to that point?
Yes.
Yes. May I ask, with all due respect, Councilmember Anthony, what is the objection that I can try to address?
Well, sir, we have to act on what's presented here. So, if you redo it and come again, that's different. So, it's nothing that I can tell you can do to address this, because it's what it is.
But what's your concern in terms of why you would deny?
Well, first of all, there seems to be a problem with the truth. And it seems, in my personal opinion, that you have a cavalier attitude, and have some problem with the people who came to speak against it.
No, I'm trying to address everyone's concern.
No, but you asked my opinion, not just my personal opinion.
So it's not the development, it's...
Well, then I'm hearing about all of these people worried about the traffic and the kids not having a place, and the fact that somebody cut these trees for free, and Mr. Weldon Brown's house was damaged, and even though you're not the developer, you work for him, you said everything have to come through you, yet you don't know anything about it. All of those things present a problem to me.
What are some of the ways that you can address the safety that will appease the community?
Well, one of the things, and what we've done in other communities is we do traffic calming devices within the streets, whether it's speed bumps, or we could just create those flat islands, which are kind of like extended speed bumps. We could post different speed limits, just kind of do a specific reduction on those, post them more frequently. Those are the kind of things that we've done before.
Are you going to provide like a common space, like a playground or something like that, where the kids will have?
So the common space is obviously going to be for the entire community. We're not going to restrict it just to Alexander Commons, and actually there probably wouldn't be a way to do that. And as far as the HOA is concerned, we would have to create our own HOA for Alexander Commons. But what we've done in other communities, we always collaborate with other HOAs to make sure that we're aligned, so that we're not out of sync with what we either have as restrictions or covenant restrictions or that stuff. So we would be reaching out to the existing HOA to say, what is it that you guys need? What are you doing now? So that we're not out of sync. Again, we're looking at this as one big community, not isolated.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none?
If I have an opportunity to withdraw the annexation on a pending denial motion, then I will like to exercise that right, because I don't want to annex a property I can't zone.
Yes, okay.
So if, and Mayor, that would be, if they wish to do that, then he needs to do that on the record, and then there would be no action you would need to take, because then there's no annexation petition. Of course, if they want to do this all over again, just so you know, you would be required to pay the associated fees with respect to the petition and any rezoning. But if the council wishes, if the
But that gives us the opportunity to address all of the issues and to come back.
They could do that, or you could also table it. If you think that there's a possibility they can address the issues, you could table this to your next meeting in August, and they can come back and again present provisions to deal with those issues. So you have multiple options. They could withdraw the whole thing. You as a council could table it, or if they don't wish to withdraw the annexation and the conditional district rezoning, you could go ahead and start making decisions on actions A through E, depending on what you need to do on that.
I would make a motion to table it, to give you the opportunity to address some of those problems and an opportunity for the other meetings, and perhaps y'all can, have some type of agreement, maybe a meeting of minds or something. Give you, both of you, an opportunity.
Councilmember Anthony, just to make the motion as clear as possible, that you'd be moving to table this to the August meeting of council?
Yes, I know.
I have a motion to table it to the August meeting.
I'll second her motion.
I have a second. Question, discussion.
Well, 30 days give you enough time to meet with the existing property owners to resolve these issues.
Yes, yeah. What, may I ask for a consensus? I'd like their feedback, to be honest with you.
Well, actually, at this point now, it's wholly within council's purview. There is a motion to table it. Now, if, your options now are limited to allowing the council to take a vote on the motion to table or withdrawing your entire thing. So
Gotcha.
if you would like to salvage this, I think the council is giving you a way out
Yeah, no, I'll take the table.
and a way to work with the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I have a motion and a second to table it to the August meeting. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's tabled to the August, is that to the 20th? I'm sorry? August the 20th meeting, sir.
August 20th.
Yeah.
August 20th?
Yes, sir. That's your last meeting under the summer schedule, so it'll be August 20th.
Gotcha.
Okay, let me see where I'm at now since we're done.
Number 15.
Right here, in the future, yeah. Okay.
The development needs to happen. The development needs to happen. This is a clear, nasty, crazy, but that's what I question from this house. The question is, can we still do that? And but they can address this issue. See, that's the thing, traffic. The city. Connectivity. Connectivity really is not necessarily what you need.
Okay. Item 15. Item 15, future sale and disposal of city-owned property located at 327 South Haines Street, Franklin Street, Jefferson Street, and North Main Street. Mr. Brian Bourne will recognize you. Sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. The city owns several properties in the downtown that we've identified, 327 South Haines, 218 East Franklin, 311 East Jefferson Street, and the Joffrey Hotel site at the intersection of North Main Street and West Franklin Street as eligible properties for economic development conditions of sale. City Council has asked for development conditions to be placed on the properties to encourage economic vitality, revitalization, and create community place. The disposal of land owned by local governments with development conditions require a public hearing under North Carolina General Statutes 158-7.1. The property located at 327 South Hain, 218 East Franklin, 311 East Jefferson, and the Joffrey Hotel site meet the conditions for economic development. It's located in historic downtown Monroe. We are looking to receive proposals. We hope that they meet design standards. In addition, the zoning would meet certain economic development uses, which include commercial, upper floor residential, and mixed-use development. City Council has asked for development conditions to be placed on city-owned vacant lots to encourage economic vitality, revitalization, foster community place, and eliminate slum and blight. North Carolina Statutes 158-7.1 require local governments to have a public hearing to hold and later convey properties for economic development purposes that it previously acquired through other statutory means. Let's see, after the hearing tonight, if you're in agreement, we would have requests for proposals drafted to seek development proposals for these properties when the timing is right. Some of them we're still using, Police Department and Ellen Fitzgerald Center, so it's a little early, but we're just getting everything in order.
Question, Brian.
Yes.
Isn't the Joffrey Hotel site parking pretty important to downtown right now?
Well, back in 2010, we put out a proposal for the development of that, and that's always been a piece of the master plan to develop that with infill mixed-use development. So that's, I mean, yes, it is parking, but as things develop, we'll have to.
It's part of like a little temporary fix until development.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So that's.
Do we have do we have plans in place, properties, additional properties we might acquire for parking? Do we have? I know there was conversation at one time about maybe doing some type of a small deck over off of Jefferson Street between Jefferson and the railroad to help accommodate parking. Do we have a parking plan in place in the event that parking is displaced?
We have no such plan, but there's been discussions with some of the lots that you've mentioned for future parking structures. Part of the plan across with the development of police and senior center, we have another lot that we'd like to put at the front there. So I mean, it's in the picture. It's just in the future, but there's no plans that are drawn or set. But we do have some property that could accommodate parking structures in the future. One being discussed was right across the street from the warehouse development right there on Hain. And then another out in the 5 Points and potentially right across the street here on Church. So there are other sites we can use.
I would just like for the citizens to know that, you know, when we talk about removing parking spaces, that we are trying to develop parking spaces in other areas.
Yeah, that double-edged sword of parking. We want a problem, but we don't.
Okay. Any other questions?
Ron, I've got, how do you go about soliciting these proposals? What form, do you mail it out to realtors, to?
Well, we would develop kind of it's a request for proposal, so we're going to ask a developer, here's the type of development we're seeking on this piece of property. Here's some of the things we want, like the one we offered in 2010 for the Joffrey site. We wanted mixed use. We wanted potentially an underground parking area because of the site itself. It lended to that, where we wanted commercial to address the sidewalk and either residential or some other use office further up. So we'd outline those parameters and put that out, see if we have private sector interest to negotiate with us on the property that's part of this economic development condition. Rather than the upset bid process, it gives us other options to work with someone and negotiate a sale and negotiate a development to happen that might be better fitted for downtown.
How do you advertise it? In the newspaper or in some kind of?
We put it out to the trade, to developers, in the newspaper, on our website, any means we think we'll get some response. Basically, we try to send it out to developers.
But you know, in the past, we've even offered to sell that land for $1 if a developer would come in and build according to the standards. So it makes me wonder, you know, we hadn't had any takers on that yet.
I think in 2010, we had, what was it? It was Furman Development out of South Carolina that was going to purchase the Joffrey lot for $10,000 because they were going to build and submit according to the proposal. Unfortunately, in 2010, we all know what happened. The market just crashed and they ran. They couldn't take it on.
That's a great lot. Eventually, it will develop.
Eventually, it will.
You know, too, we gotta have parking or nobody comes to shop.
And that's something that goes hand in hand, you know, parking's gonna be a public-private partnership in the future for a parking structure. Development has to occur to create a need for the structure because they're expensive. It's $20,000 a space in a parking structure on average or whatever, but, so it works hand in hand.
That's a small problem for Lisa to take.
Yeah.
Write a check for it.
So with you know, there's that demand that will be created by development, and we'll.
Okay. Any other questions for Brian?
One other one. Where do we stand on that alleyway?
On the
Changing
alleyway?
the subject. We're talking about downtown.
You mean Morgan Alley?
I'm talking about the alleyway between, yeah.
Yeah, Morgan Alley. Well, the Terrell, remember the Terrell, Ms. Terrell owns that piece behind what was highlights. And all of her property is in legal action now. The wills, I think 2 wills are being contested or something or whatever. So
They're fighting it.
they have to finish that process before we can start talking about getting that one piece we need or acquiring it or working something out with.
Is there a lot of heirs involved in this?
To my knowledge, she only has a daughter.
Only the daughter? Has anybody been to talk to her?
Oh, I've spoken to her before. I think she's open, but her hands are tied at this point because of there are 2 wills that exist. So I don't.
Her mother dead? Is she died or is she still living?
Miss Terrell did pass away a few months ago.
She was a shoot, right?
Yes, yes. The shoot house right there was her. I think she got that when she was 3 years old. She inherited that property.
Okay.
But I ask that you approve the resolution for those economic development conditions on those city-owned properties.
Any other questions,
I
Brian?
so move.
You said it's a public hearing,
Yeah,
so you
it's
still
closed.
need,
Yep, you're right.
still need to ask for
Okay.
it.
I wish you would.
I reluctantly make that motion.
It is a public hearing. Anyone here who would like to speak in favor?
Oh, it's a public hearing.
Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
I make the motion that we move on with it.
I second it.
I think that's the motion. That would be clear. It's a motion to
I
approve the
second
resolution.
the motion.
I think that's what we heard.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. Okay, item 16, zoning map amendment request for property located on Rocky River Road.
Good evening, I'm Carrie Menzler with the Planning Department. Tonight, I'm here to present a zoning map amendment request regarding property located at 3516 North Rocky River Road. Just to orient you to the site, it is east of Rocky River Road, and it is north of Seacrest Shortcut, which is down here to the south, and then north, which you can't see, is the bypass or the Monroe Expressway. Iron Peddlers is requesting a general rezoning of the subject property from R40 single-family residential to GB general business. The properties to the east, south, and west are zoned general business, which is this pink color. And then the property to the north is zoned R40 single-family, which is this tan color. The property is located in a regional mixed-use center of the Land Development Plan. Regional mixed-use centers attract people beyond Monroe for shopping, entertainment, employment, or recreation. Staff is of the opinion that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the adopted land use plan and is a reasonable use and in the public interest. A rezoning notification sign was posted 10 days prior to the public hearing, and an official rezoning notification letter was sent to the adjacent property owners located within at least 150 feet 10 days prior to the public hearing. And the planning board and staff do recommend approval of the rezoning from R40 single-family residential to GB general business. I'll be happy to answer any questions. The applicant is here as well.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Anyone here who'd like to speak in favor? Hearing none. Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
I move that we approve the resolution approving land development plan compliance.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Item C.
Move to approve the ordinance amending Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, Chapter 156.106, Title Official Zoning Map.
All right, have a motion on item C. Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. Very good. Item 17, the Union County Water and Wastewater Agreement Amendment. Mr. Russ Colbath, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. For your consideration this evening are amendments to our Union County Water and Wastewater Agreement and also a budget amendment related to our debt service under that agreement. We've been working with the Union County staff for some time to update our master water and wastewater agreement. Just a little bit of background. The agreement was entered into in 2005, and it provides 2.65 million gallons per day of wastewater capacity to Union County at the city's wastewater treatment plant. That generally serves the east side of the county, including Wingate and Marshville. The city also receives 1.99 million gallons per day of drinking water supply under this agreement through the county's Catawba water treatment plant. This water supply is a key factor in future economic development and growth for Monroe. The agreement is made in perpetuity or 2099, so it is a long-term agreement. I've summarized the proposed changes, amendments to the agreement in your staff report. First, it does correct some inaccuracies related to the locations specified for emergency water supply. Item 2, it updates Exhibit 3, which under the agreement reflects the cost of non-capacity improvements and equipment replacements at the city's wastewater plant that will be allocated to Union County. Union County allocation is 25.48% of all the improvements we make. So we'll be collecting approximately $1.34 million from the county for those agreements for their allocated share. More importantly to Monroe is it does update the exhibits related to non-capacity improvements and equipment replacements at the Catawba water treatment plant that will be allocated to the city and paid for. Our share in that facility is 5.53%. So they're just wrapping up a little over $70 million worth of improvements to make that plant more reliable with a 1 billion gallon water reservoir, additional pumping out of the Catawba River, additional plant improvements. So our share is $3.7 million, but we have elected to finance that through the county's bonds that were issued as part of that. So our debt service is shown in the exhibits that you have in your staff report. We previously presented this topic, the Catawba non-capacity cost projections, at the December 2016 council meeting. It's just taken that long to design, permit, and build these facilities. So our recommendations this evening, we would request that council approve the amendments to the agreement, and then also a budget amendment, a small budget amendment. Our debt service amount changed by a small amount from the original projection, so the budget amendment is only for $9,700. That'll be for fiscal 20.
Mayor.
I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I move motion to approve agreement amendment A.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion and a second on A. You want to go down to B? Can we do
No,
it?
go ahead and just do it.
Yeah. All right, how about B?
No, do it separately.
Do it separately?
Do it separately.
Okay, okay. Item A, we have a motion, I have a second, all in favor? Any,
Okay, motion to adopt budget amendment on item B.
Second.
have a motion, a second, all in favor? Any opposed?
And on item C, motion to authorize city manager to execute any and all necessary documents.
Second.
Have a motion, a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that pass. 18, item 18, water treatment plant carbon system.
Thank you, Mayor. For consideration this evening is a sole source equipment purchase for added carbon system capacity at our water plant. Normally, we would have a budgeted equipment purchase on consent agenda, but the city manager's asked I give a brief background of some of our water quality challenges at the water treatment plant, what we've done over the years to improve water quality, and then how this equipment purchase plays into that action plan. We have seasonal water quality challenges for tastes and odors for many, many years, even before I was the director here. These are generally related to the poor quality of the water in our lakes during summer and fall. This is related to pollutants that are contained in storm water that run off and that have high organic content into our lakes during the spring, summer, and fall. These are not atypical of Piedmont reservoirs. A lot of systems in North Carolina face these same challenges. Council may recall all three of our city lakes are on the NCDEQ impaired water list for nutrient over-enrichment. Nutrients are generally nitrogen and phosphorus, and that nitrogen and phosphorus content creates algae. When algae grow and produce and die, they create water treatment challenges, but they also create an earthy, swampy taste to the water. And that's the thing we're trying to battle most with the carbon. There's two specific compounds. I won't get into the technical part of it, but they're very difficult to remove by treatment processes. And the best technology that we have available to us at the treatment plant is powdered activated carbon. But this carbon product, it's expensive and it's challenging to effectively feed and add to the treatment process. But it is our best technology. And then just, I highlighted beginning in 2000, shortly after I arrived, all the things we've done over the years to enhance our treatment process, try to make better product for our customers. So I'm not going to go over all those, but it culminated last year in 2018 with an expanded focus on these taste and odor causing compounds. Council was gracious enough to give us additional budget for sampling and also purchasing additional carbon. So the equipment that we're asking for approval on tonight will actually double our capacity to feed carbon at the treatment plant. So it also increases our reliability. If one machine, a carbon feed machine fails, at least we have a backup. So we have sole sourced this purchase because standardizing the compatibility for training, spare parts, maintenance is really an overriding consideration. So we feel like buying an identical piece of equipment is to the city's benefit. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions, but staff recommends that council approve this sole source equipment purchase. and then
What does-
authorize the manager to sign any.
What does carbon do? What will it do to the water? I mean, what's it do?
Good question,
I
Mayor.
guess I'm asking it
Yeah,
right.
so powdered carbon, if I had the product here, it's a very, very fine powder, finer than pepper. But within the actual pore structure in the carbon, it's a very porous, solid structure. And so these organic molecules that create the taste and odor, they adhere to that carbon, they stick to that carbon, and then our settling process lets us settle those out of the water. So it's very much a adsorption process is how we would describe it. So the impurities.
We're gonna put you in a tank, put carbon in it.
That'll be a separate test outside of tonight's recommendation. But, yeah, that's how the carbon works, Mayor, and it's.
I'm not gonna vote for that, yet, Lynn, if that's what you're gonna do.
That's a
Okay.
great
I make a
question.
motion, we approve the sole source equipment purchase.
Okay, it's got a motion, that's on A, motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed?
I
Hearing
make a
none.
motion on B that a motion to authorize city manager to execute any and all necessary documents.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed?
And on item C, I move that we put Bob in anytime we give him.
We don't even have a second on that, I hope. I know somebody's gonna second that, Glenn. But anyway, okay, very good. That will pass. Item 21.
Actually.
No, I'm sorry, item 20.
19.
19. Well, I've got all these A's and B's and 19. Okay, 19. Consideration of rescinding the Public Safety Committee appointment of Donald Chapman.
Mayor, Mayor and Council, this is an item that was brought to our attention by the Public Safety Chair, Councilmember Anthony, and then was discussed by the Citizens Appointment Committee. Mr. Chapman had been appointed to the committee by the Public Safety Committee by Council in March of 2018, and since then he's only attended one meeting. At the request of the committee, we sent a letter, staff sent a letter to Mr. Chapman reminding him of the attendance requirements and asking him to contact Nancy Miller at the police department if he wished to stay on the department, on the committee. He did not respond. In June, we sent another letter to let him know that the attendance requirements, again, what they were, and that the council would likely consider his appointment being rescinded at the July meeting, giving him till July 5 to provide some information. He chose to provide nothing. It's up to you as, of course, the council to determine whether or not the appointment that he should remain on the committee or not, but he has failed to meet your attendance requirements, and so staff would note that given that, it may be appropriate to rescind the appointment.
Motion to rescind appointment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would just like to add, I actually talked to him in person. I saw him at the grocery store, and he told me that he just doesn't have time, so.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. Item 20, City Code Amendment to impose term limits on chairs and vice chairs on the boards, committees, and commissions.
Mayor and council, this is an item that, again, is from the Citizens Appointment Committee. And there have been some discussion from the council members and then also the committee that was concerned with a rule that had been put in place in 2010 that exempted the chairs and vice chairs, not council members who serve as chairs and vice chairs or the mayor, but citizens that you appoint who are appointed as chairs and vice chairs. They were exempted from the term limit that you have for everybody else on the boards and commissions. And so after significant discussion, the Citizens Appointment Committee believed it was appropriate to recommend getting rid of the exemption. And so what we have before you is a change to the city code that would eliminate the exemption for chairs and vice chairs. And what it would do is say that effective at the end of 2019, if you have served more than 2 terms, you will automatically be off the board or commission as a chair or vice chair. We had suggested to the committee perhaps a later date, but the committee believed it was appropriate to go ahead and decide that as of December 31, 2019, the term limits for chairs and vice chairs will be back in place. I'm happy to answer any questions about this. One thing I cannot tell you is how many chairs or vice chairs or members this would affect. We have not had an opportunity to review that. However, if you do approve this, staff will work to determine that so that when you reach the December timeframe, the December meeting would then deal with appointing new chairs and vice chairs who were affected by the term limit change.
I make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I oppose it.
Sorry.
I oppose it.
What, you got that, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Item 21, a resolution to confirm direction to the city attorney to pursue civil action and retention of outside counsel to pursue a case.
Mayor and council, thank you. This is an item that we added today because of the decision made in a case by the North Carolina Court of Appeals that suggested that if a city pursues a case, that it is appropriate to have a resolution from the city council authorizing that the case be brought and also retaining outside counsel. I will note, only for purposes of this resolution, at your May 1, 2018 meeting, you did discuss a case in closed session that has since been filed against the Milhaukeses and the Hancocks and Chankin LLC who operate Casey's Arcade. And that direction was provided to the city attorney and the staff to pursue the case. What we are just making sure is because of the language of this opinion that came down this morning from the Court of Appeals, we think it's better from a belt and suspenders approach, for lack of a better word, to ask you to approve a resolution that confirms the direction you provided to myself and also to staff to pursue the case, and also to reaffirm our hiring of an outside attorney to handle the case as well. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. The resolution is attached, and the reason there is a time crunch on this is there is a motion in the case that will be decided at the end of July. So if you were not able to make this decision tonight, it impacts the potential for what could happen with that hearing in the case at the end of July.
That's very confusing to me. I don't know.
Well, long and short of it is, we need you to just go ahead and approve a resolution that says, we told you to go ahead and pursue a case against these folks.
So we're talking about a particular case.
Yes, and it's one that's already been filed, and you've received emails about that. And I do not want to provide any confidential information, but I can say that on your behalf, in December of 2018, the city filed a lawsuit against Zoe and Gus Milhaukeses, Gary and Chandra Hancock and Chankin LLC. They're entities that are involved in the operation of Casey's Arcade. They are in violation of your zoning ordinance. They've refused to voluntarily comply with your zoning ordinance. And so the case is requesting that the court enter an injunction that will prevent them from operating.
Motion to adopt resolution.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes.
Move adjourned.
All right, council have anything else? I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We adjourn, 7:46. Thank you very much.